This trip was inspired by my autumn trip to Slovenia, the footage of which you can find on my YouTube channel. Specifically, I wanted to combine overlanding with traversing the Via Ferrata routes that I liked so much in Slovenia. So after analyzing the possibilities in the Ferrata guide application, I had chosen Sardinia as a place that in January was to provide relatively nice weather and several routes scattered around the island, which was a perfect combination of passion for solitary car exploration and trucking with adrenaline rush elements. As you can see, European winter did not make me want to stop too often, so I decided to cover the route to Genoa from where my ferry to Sardinia was living in the shortest possible time. I left Warsaw on January 17th, shortly after 9 am, having previously done the COVID test, which had to be done not earlier than 48 hours before departure. The ferry set off on January 18th at 20:30. I had to be in the port at least 2 hours before departure, so 2 days to cover about 1800 kilometers seemed a reasonable amount of time. I chose the route through Germany and Switzerland, which guaranteed an almost continuous highway drive. And so, after covering 1530 kilometers with an average speed of 86 kilometers per hour, shortly before 3 am, I stopped for the night at one of the gas stations on the A8 motorway near Milan, Italy.
Hi guys, welcome to my new trip. This time going to Sardinia. As you can see, weather is quite different from the one that I had during my travel from Warsaw to here. At A9 highway close to Milan. I did more than 1500 kilometers from Warsaw to here, which took me around 20 hours. It was quite smooth ride, so it was fine. As you can see, you can drive that long with the Defender and be perfectly fine. Yeah, it seems like summer. You wouldn't say it's January. I think it's around 20 degrees now, so it's a perfect weather. Yeah, everything was perfect until I wanted to wash myself, and of course, again, there is an issue with the water system. It was perfectly tested in the garage, but with the cold water, and it seems like it's a huge difference, the cold one and the hot one, because the water lines just didn't like the pressure. As you can see, they simply exploded with the pumps build the pressure in the system. So this was the first attempt. I cut the line just to make a new one, and I decided to use it in a different way. So I wanted just to open the tap and then turn the pump on, and then after washing myself, turning the pump off and closing the tap, and it worked. But for some reason, with the second attempt, it didn't. And this time, I'll show you. This time, the line exploded the other way, on the other side. Sorry. So, yeah, when you are buying the water lines, it is said that it's fine for the hot water, but of course they're not saying that it's not fine for the certain pressure. So I need to work that thing out. And yeah, hopefully the rest will be just without any other issues. Stay tuned. Ciao.
If you want to know more about how my water system is designed, you can find details in this material on my channel. Meanwhile, instead of the usual transparent hoses that I used in my system, I decided to use an armored garden hose. The access to the system, thanks to the gullwing window, is relatively easy for such a limited space in Defender. Replacement was a quite simple operation. Screwing a few clamps, cutting the hose to the appropriate length, selecting new bands appropriate to the hose diameter, and installing a new one. Since the garden hose has a slightly larger diameter than the previously used one and is much stiffer, I was a bit afraid that I would not be able to tightly clamp it on the boiler stop, because the looseness was significant. Nevertheless, not having much of a choice because I had only such a hose in my possession, I decided to go this way and tighten the band as much as possible.
Okay, the installation is done. Time for a test. We need to turn the system on, which is down here. And then turn the pump on. Okay, I can hear some air. Here, we have a leak here. And we have a leak there. Okay. This needs to be improved, but this one is pretty tight, which makes me really happy. Okay.
Another several dozen minutes for improvements, at the same time replacing another hose which swelled under the hot water pressure and checking it again.
I had to replace this pipe as well. This is from the cold water, but the hot water was probably going back and it was close to explode as well, so I replaced this pipe, and yeah, we'll see if now everything is fine. So let the turn pump on. Pressure is building. Yeah, the pump is cut off. I can't see any leaks. Here's fine. There's fine. And also here. No, I can see some small drops coming down from there. So again, same pipe that needs to be replaced. Okay, we'll do that one, and I think we'll be done with the water system. Keep your fingers crossed so it works until the end of this trip and for the others as well. Ciao!
And after another dozen or so minutes,
we have cold and hot water. Perfect.
finally I was able to move on. Reaching the vicinity of Milan at once gave me a lot of time, and I was able to finish the morning repairs without stress. I had only 154 kilometers to cover. I was supposed to be in the port at 6:30 p.m. at the latest, so leaving the gas station shortly after 3 p.m. was not a problem. The weather was good, it was dry and sunny, so the only thing left was to enjoy the views outside the windows, if I wasn't going through one of the many tunnels at that time. Finally, around 4:50 p.m., I reached the port of Genoa.
Ferry for the ferry to Sardinia? Ticket, please. Yeah.
The port of Genoa is the largest port in Italy and one of the 20 largest transshipment ports in Europe. Access to the ferry is just like on any international border. You need a valid ticket as well as an identity card and valid card documents. There are 2 stops waiting for us, one for checking the documents, the other for issuing the papers necessary to enter the ferry.
Costruttore. Vabbè, questo è il GNV. Documento, passport. Buona persona?
Ja.
Buono. E quella vernice antigraffio?
I'm constantly amused by the interest in Linux coding on my car, even in situations such as documents control.
Prego, mister. Bye bye. Bye. Ciao.
The instructions were handed over, but as I don't speak Italian, I had to help myself with what was written on the papers.
Barco Sate.
Following the signs and the road marked with concrete blocks on one side and a metal fence on the other, after a few more turns, I finally drove to the target parking lot. On my left side, there was him. Superman. Superman does not need to be introduced to anyone, I guess. He's probably known to everyone, but his image, especially in this size, on the side of the Ferry, is not so obvious. Under the superhero painting hides the Ferry. This is a fast cruise ferry belonging to the private Italian Tirrenia fleet. 214 meters long, 26 meters wide, weighing more than 4,700 tons. A colossus capable of reaching speeds of almost 30 knots, that's over 50 kilometers per hour. It can take 2,700 passengers and 1,820 passenger cars on board. Campers, caravans, off-road vehicles or any other vehicles with height over 220 centimeters, measured from the ground, must be declared upon booking, as they are subject to surcharge. You can also take dogs or cats on board, but they must stay in the car or in a special kennels, unless you purchase a pet-friendly cabin. Superman is not the only superhero adoring the fleet. Tirrenia, in partnership with Warner Bros. Consumer Products and DC Entertainment, began to decorate its ships in early 2017. Thanks to this cooperation, it is also possible to watch the studio's films in the onboard cinema 90 days after the premiere. And so, while waiting for boarding, dusk was slowly falling over the Genoa harbor. The city, rolling downhill from the surrounding hills towards the sea, was beginning to glow with 1,000 tiny lights. The sky was starting to turn pink with the setting sun. It was a light pink color, indicating dry air and therefore good weather the next day. And from setting my foot in Sardinia, I was only separated by this small pool of water. You all probably know this feeling of waiting for the waiting to be over. I've been traveling for 2 days, but one night on the ferry separates me from the proper adventure. So I'd just like to be in my cabin and feel the gentle swaying on the waves, the soft hum of the ship's engine, and this impatience, what awaits me when I finally reach Sardinia. Meanwhile, I was still stuck in the parking lot.
Just wait some time. I don't know how many time, but when the office tells me that we can go, we can go.
Okay.
Last in, first out, hopefully.
They're preparing some VIP room for me. Let's see.
Minute by minute, peanut after peanut. There's only a colorful stream of cars ahead of me and the constant hum of the port in my ears. More cars disappearing from the parking lot, one by one, and I'm still waiting for a signal from the office. And when it seemed like it would never come,
Off we go. Thanks.
yep, in my eyes you can see a kind of disbelief that they directed me here. Am I really supposed to squeeze in there? They didn't leave me too much space, did they? And there we go, Italian again. Sorry, mate. I have no idea what you're saying.
Fermo, dritto, oh, vieni indietro. No, thank you.
All right, we're done.
Just 10 more hours and adventure begins. Stay tuned.